Okay, it says I'm live and it has a chat. So this is my first YouTube live. Never having experienced this before, don't really know what's going to happen next. I have been making little recordings using Zoom. I've been putting them up on YouTube. So it's not the first time that I'm saying hello on YouTube, but I thought I'd say hello world because it's the first time I'm here live. This is Cynthia Ann Layton, owner of Software Enterprise Limited, and I'm here to give just a little tiny chance to say hello world. This is about getting skills, about gaining resilience, and about getting the critical habits that you need. One way to do that is do a little pre-assessment of what's going on. And I find colorful things are a useful way to approach. So I have these little markers and I'm pulling out randomly the colors to write things down on blank sheets of paper. What I'd like to suggest to you for gaining key skills is to sit down and be creative about what skills you have. For example, in doing this today, one skill that I used was very simple, typing. Another skill that I used was the ability to log into YouTube and other computer stuff. So computer stuff might be one way of saying key skills that I have at the moment. You might find it useful to look at the kind of key skills that you have too. Because when you're trying to figure out what's next, which we're all doing from one moment to the next, trying to figure out what is next, what to do for our next act, whether that's improving what we're doing or practicing something new or gaining some small ability that's brand new to us. So for example, everything that you do, there's some aspect that's brand new. For example, you know how to talk. I know how to talk, but this is my first time that I'm talking live, and it feels a little bit weird. So I'm guessing it's something that maybe 1,000 times from now, I'll be good at. And in those initial, from now, number 1 up to number 1,000, that along the way, I'll go from being really bad to maybe not so bad to just doing badly. And that's sort of the way things go when you're learning something new. You really are bad at it in the beginning. Take a baby, for example. The first time a baby stands up, that baby's likely to fall over pretty quickly. That's going to happen maybe not 1,000 times, but a whole lot of times. And then baby's going to take a first step and a second step. And along the way, in between first step and second step, there might be a whole lot of falls. Typically, babies have others around helping them, encouraging them, and being sort of cheerleaders for them doing a little bit further in terms of repeating the part about standing and taking a step without falling down. That's something that it's useful to do for yourself because as a baby, you have lots of people that are focused in on that. But as an adult, not so much. So it's useful to find ways to encourage yourself, to be your own, encourager in terms of hope and just thoughts about what you can do to move yourself forward. It is important to go always forward. Life has bumps, and along those bumps, there's going to be things that you're going to need to learn to do. But it's helpful sometimes to do a little mini pre-assessment before doing something new, just from time to time. You might do something such as spilling out some colors, some pens, and pulling out a blank piece of paper and writing ideas down. For example, another thing you might have skills with is budgeting. And that budgeting skill might tie in with, say, your household income. You write that in another color, such as blue. Household income. And you might take a look at some of the things that you've got going on there and say household income might have a line to budgeting because they're connected, and your ability to take your household income and budget it in a way that helps you to do what you want as well as prepare for what's coming next. because we don't know exactly what it is that's coming next. But in some cases, we have a little bit of control. For example, we know next week we're going to need to eat. The week after that, we're going to probably need to buy more food. The week after that, we're probably, who knows, need to buy a pair of shoes or something different. So we prepare for that by budgeting how we spend our household income. That's a skill. It's a pretty key skill. So I would suggest you look at the simple skills that are in your life and write them down, just as a little pre-assessment from time to time about what it is that you might need to learn next for whatever's going on in your life next. It might be that you want to add in doing some special project. You might, in fact, have a list of projects. I have a little book with list of projects. It's the title on it. It helps me to break down into smaller tasks what it is that I need to do. For example, if you've got some bit of paperwork that needs to take place, there might be 10 different steps that need to go on in terms of gathering them all together before that paperwork project is done. And by writing them down, it helps you to figure out not necessarily that number one has to go first and number two has to go second, but what all the different things are that need to get done. And it might be that one day you have a chunk of time and you feel like looking at your list of things on that particular project, and there's 3 that really do not appeal to you at all. But there's one that you feel like you can do. On that day, your energy level, your ability, the things you need are all available, and that is a way of moving forward on something that needs to be done, that maybe didn't need to be done on a specific time frame, but was on your list of projects of things you'd like to do. And as and when little chunks of time come up, instead of wasting them, you're able to actually go forward and move forward by having little lists of projects. But in addition to lists of projects, sometimes it's fun to just list out little things that can help you in figuring out what's next. Sometimes I do that with crayons, sometimes I do it with markers, just on blank pieces of paper. But when you think about it, it gives you a little bit of creativity. For example, I've got a couple of pillows here I'm going to show you. This one was purchased at a store. It's a simple pillow. Somebody didn't need a whole lot of creativity to do that, or a whole lot of effort. But this pillow required a bit more creativity and a bit more of effort. My grandmother made it a long time ago. Some of the projects that you've got are just going to be a store-bought effort kind of thing, where you can go out and just get it. Some projects, all you need to do is go get the pieces. Other projects, though, things that are more meaningful, sometimes people put a lot of effort into planning of getting the different materials, such as my grandmother, and getting the stuffing, the outer part, the different colors to do the threads and all of that, and a lot of time putting in stitch by stitch. So there's going to be a lot of projects in your life where you have to put in stitch by stitch a lot of different details. But it really is helpful as you're figuring out projects that are coming where you don't feel like you have all the key skills and critical habits. It's helpful to remind yourself that you do have a lot more habits and skills that you really are going to be able to apply. So one is to sit down, a little pre-assessment, and write down some of the key skills that you bring to the table, not just for a particular project, but for the project of your life. And it's also helpful to keep a list of the projects that are going on in your life so that you know when you've got a small chunk of time, how you might best invest it, because it is an investment. Just like you're investing your household income, you're investing your time. You're investing your time and your household income in you, and you matter. You deserve the best. So I encourage you to do a little bit of pre-assessment by sitting down and writing down some of the things you're capable of doing, skills, whatever it is you're able to do. For example, I wrote down typing, computer stuff, household income with an arrow going into one that I'd written earlier, budgeting. It's just simple, but when you take different colors and create them on a page, sometimes that's helpful. I did one the other day where it helps me in preparing for a project that I was doing. And then in the center of that, I wrote, "You are your biggest asset." I wanted to point that out to you. You really are your biggest asset. So you have a lot of key skills. You have critical habits. You may not be aware of all of them, And you may not have all the ones you need for the next project that you're starting next month. But you know what? You can get them. You can put them in play. Starting right now with a little pre-assessment, just in a little way, of what it is you've got in terms of key skills to offer to the projects you've got coming up in your future, near term and longer term. Thanks so much for being here. This is Cynthia saying hello, world, encouraging you to do a little pre-assessment of your key skills. Thanks so much for for listening. I'm putting this up on my little channel. And let's see, this is end stream. So bye-bye. Thanks for being here.